Welcome back to the booth. I'm joined now by Michael Brewer, Application Programmer Specialist at the University of Georgia and the founder of the Geek Choir. Michael, thank you very much for being with us.
Great to be here.
So how did the Geek Choir come about?
Well, I'd always seen music represented in some way at OSCON, usually through BOFs. But the problem with the music BOFs was always that you had to kind of rely on local people to bring their guitars or other instruments, and I always thought it would be more inclusive if people were just singing, because then they didn't have to bring hefty carry-on luggage. So a couple of years ago at a different local tech conference, I introduced the idea of Geek Choir as an unconference session at the end of the thing. We started with about 5 people, and as people voted with their feet as they heard us, we wound up with about 15 or 20 and by the end of the session. And so the next year we did it as a full-on conference session. Had a great time. Had a whole range of people, some folks who had never sung before, couldn't read music, and they just really loved it.
Yeah.
And so I proposed it this year, and O'Reilly accepted it.
So when you have the conference session or the actual session itself, how does that work? Because people aren't coming in with the music beforehand, right?
And I don't want them to. The idea is, even though that we have a wide variety of experienced singers in the group, and in fact at yesterday's session, it was almost 90% of the crowd were experienced singers. But I don't want that 10% that's never read music before to come in and feel intimidated. Yeah. If we prepped them on Mahler or Mozart or something like that, then we would have a bunch of people that would be all like, I can't do this in one way. And so we start everyone starts at the same base point, then they progress through the exercises, and it's a good time for everybody.
Yeah. So what do you feel is the relationship between coding and music?
Well, it's difficult to say. There's always been a lot of talk about the relationship between mathematics and music. Lots of books have been written on the subject. There seem to be similar aptitudes. In terms of coding, and specifically open source coding, you get people working on, a lot of people coming together with varying skill sets to work on a shared project. And there's an immediacy that we get in Geek Choir to the results too. We're not waiting on the compiler to finish before going online, but just that sense of camaraderie of everyone coming together and working on a project with the team. And it's face-to-face too, which is even better for folks.
So last question I have for you, how do you see Geek Choir evolving? Will it become a formalized thing?
I'd love to see it be a more formalized part of the conference. It would be nice to have it a little longer. It's hard to fit into the 40-minute time frame.
So you need the Geek Choir track. Right?
Yeah, a tutorial session in Geek Choir. But no, it was a lot of fun. People have been telling me how much they enjoyed it, especially as kind of a end the day, clear the head after data coding session kind of thing. We had a funny moment last night after we were finished when the AV guy in the back of the hall stood up and said, "You guys were awesome!" So we enjoyed that.
Sure. If you get the AV guy, you know you're doing okay, right?
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.